And it looks like we are live. Good evening, everybody. Got to let the stream breathe. You know what we do here at Mile High Huddle. Got to get the Facebook groups in here to join everybody in here in the Huddle Up podcast community. Waiting for some green check marks across all platforms. Mile High Hello, everybody in Broncos country. Welcome into another episode of the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. I am your host, Lance Sanderson, and joining me as per usual is my good friend and colleague. He is Mile High Huddle's senior NFL draft analyst, the one and only Erick Trickel. And dude, holy cow. What a huge win for the Denver Broncos Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills, traveling across the East Coast. It's the first time they've won on Monday Night Football in Buffalo since like 1987. The first time they've won against the Bills in Buffalo since 2007 on an eerily similar situation with the Hurricane Mayday Toro rush the field goal unit on and kick it a last second field goal. We got to play out the exact same way, but huge win. Broncos are 4-5. How are you doing today, Erick?
Well, I'm doing good. Getting everything ready for Thanksgiving, which I hope everybody joins it. As much as I hate the holiday, still a big thing in my family.
Ooh.
We still use it as a family get together. And it's not that I hate the holiday. I am not a turkey fan whatsoever. But last year we did prime rib. We're doing prime rib this year. We're adding a ham as well with the turkey. So going all out here, just went and got a bunch of stuff for that. But anyways, as for the game, I said it last week. I'm not going to back off on it. This team can very well be a playoff team. Like with how the defense is playing, with how things can be better with the offense, but with how they're doing it, it's all working and clicking. There's going to be, issues if the defense starts to fall apart because you got to find more consistency from the offense, especially with the passing game. But it's all starting to gel. We're starting to see improvements on the offense in certain areas. More efficiency from the run game can also help. They've been under 4 yards per rush attempted over both last two wins, but a win is a win. Taking the ball away as often as they have the last two games, getting those extra possessions, that's great. But one thing, if you're going to get those extra possessions, you got to score off of them. You typically always want at least 3 points for it off of them. The Broncos had 4 takeaways against the Bills and walked away with 6 points. That is a little bit disheartening. But this team, especially if they can just get everything together on offense, they can make the playoffs. And I don't want to say they'll make a Super Bowl run, but they could do something in the playoffs. Like if they can get everything going on offense together.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that we really need to talk about is something I talked about over the last handful of weeks, specifically in regards to Russell Wilson. I'm not going to go there with this particular conversation, but I think that overall, this team is learning how to find ways to win games. And it doesn't matter whether it's offensively, whether it's defensively, whether it's on special teams with Marvin Mims and his kick and punt returns. His contributions on special teams have been absolutely incredible. The turnovers, like you said, they've got what? I think 4 interceptions or 5 interceptions and 4 fumble recoveries over the last 2 games. They also had another big time interception to close out the game against the Green Bay Packers with PJ Locke coming all the way across the field the way that he did. This team is starting to play very opportunistically. And while we want to see a little bit more growth with the offense, this defense is starting to hit on all cylinders. And while I don't say that you need to apologize to Vance Joseph for what happened earlier in this football season, I do think we really need to give him his flowers because this guy is dialing up the right pressures. He's dialing up the right coverages. He has this defense humming on all cylinders, and it is so incredible to watch. They've improved dramatically against the run game, and this team is going to be so much more fun to cover. They're going to be so much more fun to watch, especially if they can continue to play at this level, Erick. It's so much fun to be a Broncos fan right now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I know you and I both, we really went hard in on Vance Joseph to start the season, and rightfully so. I mean, he was coaching an unfamiliar defense, calling plays that were very clearly not by his design. And part of that, as we talked about then, part of that falls on Sean Payton of hiring a guy to coach a defense he isn't familiar with. But they've loosened up a little bit. They're going back to what he knows, what he does, what he's coached before. Getting Baron Browning out there on the field is helping their pass rush. all these things are going together. But one of the biggest things to me is just how simplified they are. I wouldn't say they're doing so much better against the run. I mean, even if you take away that week 3 game against Miami, they are still bottom 5 in the NFL in rushing defense.
Oh no, you're right.
They are still a really bad unit. But they're still showing signs of improvement because of how simplified things they are, even though they got gashed multiple times by Latavius Murray and Cook against the Bills on Monday night. Things are simplified. They're not asking them to read too much. They're not asking them to do too much. It's a lot more see ball, get ball, and it's working. That's why we're having a little bit better with the stops. They'll still have those big plays they allow. Even great run defenses have those few plays they do, but they are being a little bit more consistent. Or consistent is not the right word. They are having a few more stops behind them to, it's not just constantly 3-4 yard rushes. They're getting those 2-3 yard loss runs as well, kind of balancing it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Still room for monies. Can't always rely on turnovers. Because, back-to-back games with 4 or more turnovers, first time it's happened since 1998. That is not a reliable way to win, so you got to find more consistency between the 20s. But one thing that you said was just spot on. This team has found ways to win. They are finding ways to, in the thick of it, to basically just go out there and get it done, both on offense and on defense. Coming away with that key turnover, to close out the game against the Packers, getting those key first downs and yards to put them in field goal range, things like that. They have found ways to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that we haven't seen from this Broncos team in the last 7 years or so. It's been since 2015. I guess we can call 2016 one of those, that last winning season that the Broncos have had. 2016, they did find multiple different ways to win games, especially defensively, coming off of that Super Bowl 50 victory. But at the same time, what you're seeing now is it's not just the defense holding their own weight. The offense is coming away with timely drives. They are sustaining long possessions. They're holding on to the football. The Broncos did something boosted by the defense, by a million % boosted by the defense against the Buffalo Bills. Offensively, they held the football for 37 minutes and 21 seconds. That is a ridiculous amount of time to be holding the football more than your opponent. You're putting so much pressure on the Bills to be able to, and granted, the Bills did have those long drives, but the Broncos did enough in the opportunities that they did have to hold the football to come away with those timely key possessions, create enough big plays offensively. Whether it looked pretty or not, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you walked away with a win in Buffalo to get your team one more win closer to 500. And like you and I talked about last week at the end of the show, if they can find a way to win Buffalo, there is an opportunity here for this team to come away and become a playoff team, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, there's a couple points you made that I want to touch on here before we get to the Viking games. But first, we got to sit there and we got to talk to you all about Little Caesars. Now, Little Caesars is the official sponsor of the NFL, the official pizza sponsor. So you should be making it part of your game day. Pizza, it's just such an iconic food for, game nights, sporting events, like just sitting down on Sunday, being able to have that pizza in front of you, that warm, cheesy, gooey slice, and eat that while you're watching your favorite team hopefully walk away with the win, like we did with the Broncos this last couple weeks. It's just something that it's just that iconic part of a Sunday, Sunday afternoon meal or whatever for game days. So order online during our Pizza pregame, 1 hour before and 3 hours after NFL kickoffs, plus all day on Sundays, and get ready for some football and fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love Little Caesars pizza. It's been a while since I've got some, but they're great, man. The $5 takeouts, they're so quick, they're so easy, they're so convenient. You get the pepperoni, you get the cheese, you get the sausage. You can pick your own favorites or the toppings you crave. Either way, guys, you win. My biggest favorite though is the deep dish pizza. I love that thing. It's super saucy, super cheesy, super gooey. I love the pepperoni pizza. It's one of my favorites. It's one of my family's favorites, and we like to get that as often as we possibly can. We need to do that here soon. Speaking of winning, guys, everyone scores with convenience. convenient delivery or in-store pizza portal pickup. So grab some friends and enjoy a few slices during the game this Sunday evening. Again, super convenient, super easy. One of the best foods that you can have on a Sunday of watching football. Now, Eric, go ahead and pick apart my points. Go ahead.
No, actually, it was something that you wanted to that I just wanted to add on about the Bills and how long the Broncos had the ball on it. It definitely helps when the Bills have 4 possessions and 2 of them are total of 16 seconds, 8 seconds each play because of takeaways. They had 4 possessions that totaled under 2 minutes of total of time off the clock, including one of them being a turnover on downs. So 4 downs, all under 2 minutes. That is a huge help for keeping it going. Now, looking ahead to this Minnesota Vikings team, we were able to always acknowledge that there were issues with the Bills defense. There's issues with all these defenses that they've played. There's ways for the Broncos to win. There's ways for them to win and move the ball effectively against this Vikings defense. But there is a problem because the Broncos are one of the worst teams facing blitzes. And Brian Flores and the Vikings blitz 49% of the time.
By far the most in the league. I think the closest next behind that is like 42%. Like that, and I
42 or 44,
yeah, it's something like that. And I can't remember the stat off the top of my head. I heard it earlier today. I wish I was a little bit more prepared for that particular statement, but that was something I wanted to bring to the show. Was 49% of the time, half of the time, you're bringing blitzes, extra rushers. And Eric, I want to argue some semantics about blitzing here in a minute. But first, we got to grab Phil McLaughlin. Good evening, Lance and Eric and Deacon Scott. No Scott tonight, guys. We're running this show a little bit solo, so if we miss anything on the Facebook Stars donations, we do apologize for that. We'll grab as many Facebook comments as we possibly can, give you guys a shout out, but no Scott tonight to help us out on that aspect. Regardless, Phil jumps in saying, guys, Javonte Williams was going to get 100 rushing yards. Russell Wilson is going to get 200 plus passing. Hashtag Buckham, hashtag MHH for life, hashtag Go Broncos. This is a perfect segue into your points here, because this Vikings defense, while they're not tremendous in any area other than blitzing, they're good against the run, they're good against the pass, but
they're one of the best defenses in the NFL this year.
They're a good defense.
I believe they're top 10 in both in EPA.
Oh, okay. So I'm talking about yards per play. I think they're 12th, I think, in yards per rush and 13th or 14th in the NFL in yards per play against the pass. They're opportunistic. And a big part of that is because Brian Flores, like we just got done talking about, they blitz 49% of the time. And Eric, you and I have gone back and forth on this point for multiple different arguments, whether privately or even on this show. What do you constitute as a blitz?
Technically, a blitz is anything with more than 4 rushers. That is the definition of it used by NFL standards, by statisticians, by everyone that does anything with football. It is a 5th or more rushers, or 5 or more rushers. That is a blitz.
Okay. So I heard an interesting conversation. This is a big shout out here to the guys over at KOA, Ryan Edwards and Big Alfred Williams, former defensive lineman for the Denver Broncos, a 2-time Super Bowl champion. He was talking about Brian Flores and their blitz percentage, saying that those are not necessarily blitzes because you're only bringing 5 guys. And the way that teams talk about, at least when he was in the NFL back in the 90s, a blitz is when you bring more rushers than there are blockers. So this, to me, is an interesting talking point, because if you're bringing 5 guys, you're getting one-on-one scenarios, hopefully, across the offensive line, if you can manage to figure out a way to block it up. When you bring a 6th guy and you only have 5, that is what Alfred Williams constitutes as a blitz. Or if you have a tight end staying attached to the line of scrimmage, you bring 7 guys, much like what the Buffalo Bills did on back-to-back plays against the Broncos, which set up the game-winning field goal attempt. That's, to me, what do you think about those particular comments? And does that hold water in your estimation?
I get where he's coming from, but no. I mean, there's a wonderful tool out there. It's the NFL. It's terminology that is common use out there, and they'll go do it. And here's the definition of a blitz for them. A blitz is a play where the defense sends 5 or more defenders directly into the offensive backfield to attack the ball carrier and disrupt the offense. 5 or more. Okay. I get where they're coming from. More rushers than there are blockers. But then what if you go max protect? You're keeping both tight ends and a running back in. So that's 8 people blocking. So now a blitz is 9. That was a big reason why I know back in the 90s that was often how it was classified more. But around the turn of the century, there was a conversation about it. And there's actually, I have a book that actually talks about it and about why they changed it to this is because when you get into those situations where you're keeping 7 people in the block, 5 people is still a blitz because you are still sending that extra rusher. And that is what it comes down to is, are you sending an extra rusher? And it takes out how many blockers there are because it's just easy to manipulate that because then if you're looking at it, well, you just play 6, keep a tight end all the time or a running back in all the time and 6 split things, then teams will have like basically no blitz percentage against you. But that's not really, again, how it is. So I get it. It's just not the way it is anymore. I think it was like right around the turn of the century. It might have been a couple years later. It's now is 5 or more, and that's just how it is.
And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, because most offensive linemen, most offenses are going to face a four down pressure look. When you get into 3-4 defenses, you get 3 down defensive linemen, 2 standing edge rushers, and typically someone's going to drop. You're going to rotate a defender, maybe twist or stunt. You're going to get 4 guys more often than not coming. That 5th guy is usually, like Erick says, constituted as a blitzer. With Brian Flores' defense, I think this is a great way to tie this conversation together here. Brian Flores does such a really good job disguising what he does with his defensive front. It's typically a 4-down front, but he's going to rotate a linebacker up and then bring the simulated pressure of the linebacker coming. And then he's going to bring somebody else off of the edge. He's going to bring another linebacker on the blitz. He might bring a nickel cornerback. He might bring 6 guys. He is so aggressive with what he does. And it's so hard because they disguise everything that they do defensively so well. And then you get the cover 0 package where they will line up everybody up front. We're showing you we're going to bring the house. And then they'll drop 7 guys and it'll just be a 4-man rush. Or they'll bring everybody up. We're going to show we're bringing 7. And they bring 7, including the safety hauling ass from the backside. And it's man on man. Cover 0 over the top, similar to the play that we watched with the Buffalo Bills, where Jerry Jeudy got the pass interference call. So, Erick, this is a big problem for this Broncos offensive line because they have struggled to communicate exactly what's going on up front, especially when you get these heavy blitz pressure packages in their face. How do the Broncos combat that?
So real quick, we have a comment here. Zach Powers asking, then an extra rusher only counts based upon base 4 or 3 down linemen. It doesn't matter. It completely takes away the 5 rush or more rushers. It takes away the need for that 4-3-3-4, 3-3-5. It takes 2-4-5, whatever. It's just at the time of the snap, how many players are then attacking the ball carrier, the quarterback, the running back, whatever it is. Are there only 4 of them? And it could be a situation where your 2 interior defensive linemen, they drop and it's 2 linebackers, 2 edges, and then a safety. That's a blitz. Or it's 5 or more. So it doesn't really matter how many down linemen you have. It's just looking at how many people are coming after the quarterback. Now, real quick, Lance, we have one more thing we got to do, and then I'll get back to answering your question you had.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. We got to give another shout out to one of our sponsors here. Obviously, a great sponsor of the show. We've done these guys multiple different times. Manscaped. We're thankful for the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Guys, are you ready to spice up your Thanksgiving as we dive head first into the mountains of mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce? Let's talk about the unsung hero of the holiday season, keeping yourself well groomed with the Manscaped Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. That's right. Go cold turkey on your old razor and take care of your own turkey leg with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Visit manscaped.com and use code HUDDLE for 20% off and free shipping, and enjoy Thanksgiving in style. Make sure you make yourself look as good as you possibly can with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, guys.
Yeah, and the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, the great thing about it is that it's waterproof. So if you don't want to sit there and make a mess on your floor, you can go and easier cleanup and go do it when you're in the shower. Very, simple and easy. But that's not the only thing that they have new. They also have when you go and you make this order, you also get the Manscaped Boxers 2.0 premium underwear and the Shed 2.0 toiletry bag. Now, the boxers, I don't have the 2.0 ones. I have the first ones, and those were the most comfortable pair of boxers that I own. Super comfy, soft, and breathable too. So absolutely wonderful. And the toiletry bag, anytime I travel, whether it's for the meet and greet or friends' weddings or even just going to the bigger city up here, toiletry bag. It's simple, it's small, it's compact, and it fits everything that I need to take with me there. I absolutely love it. I love the Manscaped products that I use, that I have. I mean, it's just a bunch of different amazing products that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. I use the nose and ear trimmer all the time. I've got the manicure set. You've got fingernail clippers, some nose hair tweezers. You've got a set of tweezers, some nail files. It's a wonderful little kit that you can get. Comes with the bag, comes with the underwear, comes with the Lawnmower 5.0. And again, guys, make sure you guys go and support Manscaped. They're a great support of our show. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. Again, 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the promo code HUDDLE at checkout and be thankful this holiday season to make sure that you look your best for everybody in your family. Now, Eric, back to the question that I had for you, because I think that it's one that is this is a great question for you, breaking down the X's and O's. Like I said, this Vikings team, this defense, very specifically, is incredibly disguise heavy. They disguise everything they like to do up front, especially with their blitz packages. How do the Broncos combat that?
Well, there are multiple ways for it, and there's a dangerous way that you can do it, which is the way that is very commonly talked about as the blitz beater. But with what Brian Flores does with disguising his coverage, it's risky. Quick hot reads.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue with that, whether it's a quick slant to Cortland Sutton, one of those guys that's showing blitz could quickly drop into the path of the ball, creating an opportunity for an interception. That is a riskier way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're facing a blitz heavy team like this, you want to get the ball out quickly. Another way, draws. Let them come up, wait a second, have your offensive line, who's doing a great job creating openings in the run game, create that opening and go, and let your running back go. This would be a really big game to have Jaleel McLaughlin used quite a bit to help counter this blitz. You don't want to keep him in blocking, which might, also provides a little risk because it might make the offense a little bit more predictable, because you're not going to keep him into block. You're going to be using him in some way or another. And another way is screens. As much as I hate them, screens are such a good way to attack aggressive defenses. It's why under Vic Fangio, the Broncos defense had such an issue with defending them, because they were aggressive, but not in the form of blitzing. And so it just counters that aggressiveness. It gets the guys upfield, and then you can just quickly just sneak the ball behind them, let your blockers go out, and make the plays and get big gains. All three of those I would fully expect to be heavily in the offensive game plan, being used quite a bit, and just going and, trying to get either the Vikings to be more passive, which they don't do. They will die by the blitz. Like that is Brian Flores' mentality. They will die by the blitz. But they live by it as well. I mean, what he has done with this defense, that is a big reason why they are on the win streak that they are. And how aggressive they are, and the capabilities of his blitz packages. And not to discredit anybody, he's got some amazing pass rushers to work with to make his blitzing so effective. And then he's got great defensive backs when it comes to blitzing. They're so effective, and linebackers. It's just a really good set of players that they have there that fits his scheme so well.
Well, and another thing, and I'm so glad that you went to the staying away from the quick passing game, specifically on slants, because that's where everybody wants to go with the football is blitz level replacement. So what I mean by that, guys, is typically on a hot read, if you identify that a blitzer is going to come, you want to throw to the replacement level of that particular player. So typically what happens is you have a wide receiver on the outside, you're going to run a slant or a quick in route to that particular area. These cornerbacks, Caleb Evans, Byron Murphy, and Andrew Booth Jr., they do such a great job on the outside of diving and running into those routes. They get their hands on a lot of footballs working that way. These guys are incredibly talented. They're perfect fits. And like Erick said, they match the blitzers. They can come off the edge if they want to. They're so athletic in the second half of this defense. Ivan Pace Jr. He's an undrafted rookie out of Cincinnati. Erick, I know he was one of your favorite guys to watch in this last draft class. This dude is flying all over the field. Brian Asamoah, another guy that, while he struggles in coverage, is a very fluid and incredible athlete. He's linear. He's not a guy that wants to move away from the football or side to side. He's more forward and backwards. But these guys, they do such a great job of disguising what they're going to do. And then these cornerbacks, they'll come up and they'll press you and they will drive on the football and they will get their hands on the football, knock the ball up into the air, and hopefully create turnover opportunities. It's such a fun and dynamic defense to watch. And it goes back to Brian Flores' time as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. This scheme is transcendent right now in the NFL because if you have the players to do it, you can actually accomplish a hell of a lot defensively for your team. Michael Ronquillo jumping in here on Facebook, drops in some stars as he always is wont to do. Michael, your support, dude, is always among the greatest. You're on the Mile High Huddle, Mount Rushmore for sure. Saying good evening, Lance and Erick on Dove Valley Deep Divers. Go Broncos. Erick, I want to specifically go back to the pass rush of this team because on the edges, they have two guys that are absolutely destroying stuff. In Danielle Hunter, who is number 2 in the NFL, tied for second in the NFL with TJ Watt and Trey Hendrickson with 11 sacks this season, 40 total pressures coming off of the right side of the the left side of the offensive line. And then your guy, DJ Wanham, has had a tremendous season in terms of his growth. 6 sacks for him, I think, in the 30s in pressures as well. This team, even if they don't pressure you with the blitz package, they can get after you rushing the passer off of the edges, man. And Mike McGlinchey versus DJ Wanham, I think that's a battle that we really need to keep our eyes on.
Yeah, real quick before I get to that, just to clarify. So Zach Powers coming in. Still going back to what classifies as a blitz, not trying to beat this topic home or anything like that. Just trying to be clear here to Zach. He says, so with 3 defensive tackles and 2 edge rushers, it's considered a blitz every time, only if all 5 of them rush.
Yes.
That's what it is you can line up with 6 people on the line, 3 edges, 3 defensive linemen or 4 defensive linemen and 2 extra edges. As long as 5 or more are at the snap, are coming after the quarterback and not dropping into coverage. And it also cancels out is after a couple seconds, if they show blitz and, at the snap, they start to come and then they drop back, that is also taken out from being a blitz. So it is, they have to be a consistent attacker from the snap on.
Just quickly to clarify, because you said something that I want to have some clarification here. Oftentimes what you'll see a linebacker, maybe even an edge rusher that's lined up at the line of scrimmage, and they will attack the line of scrimmage and wait. And what their assignment is, they're probably in man coverage against the running back. And if that running back clears and gets out to the flat, or they try to run a route or something like that, that linebacker, while it appears that he may be coming as a blitzer, he will then drop back and then go back to his coverage assignment. If that linebacker is in man coverage and the running back stays into pass protection, that linebacker is automatically a blitzer. That's called a green dog blitz. You see that a lot, especially on 3rd and long scenarios where they're not sure that if the running back's going to leak out into the pass route or if he's going to stay. So it's a subtle nuances that you got to kind of, I don't want to call anybody, like, pay attention to and understand exactly what you're seeing. And a lot of people don't quite get that aspect of what constitutes a blitzer as what does not constitute a blitzer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more. There's a little bit more nuance than just do they attack in the situation of, oh, the running back they're gonna leak out, and the linebacker comes in and then they leak out for it. Then it becomes a situation of, do they engage? Do they engage a
Yep.
blocker and then peel off? If they engage a blocker, I'm fairly certain it still gets classified as a blitz. If they don't engage a blocker and they peel off before that, I'm pretty sure it gets counted down as not a blitz. I'm not 100% sure on that though. But yeah, general rule of thumb: five or more players, as long as they're consistently attacking the quarterback, it's a blitz. Brad Winkler coming in saying, "Hey, I'll be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. Definitely make
Thank
sure
you,
you guys are
Brad.
hitting that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribing, clicking the little bell there to turn notifications on, so you guys can get whenever we go live. There are things in the work to try to bring even more content to you guys as well. So keep an eye out for that and clicking that little bell for the notifications can help you guys do that. Douglas Wall comes in, says, will it not be harder for the defense to blitz as much as they normally do, being at Mile High? No. They'll have oxygen on the sidelines. They'll have ways to help keep their guys gassed and everything. They'll still blitz. It's never stopped Brian Flores before.
No.
Even in bad elements, there has been nothing to slow down Brian Flores' aggressiveness.
No.
And it's very similar to Vance Joseph. Vance Joseph is very aggressive with it as well. Going back to these caliber of pass rushers that they have, one thing that is absolutely like mind-blowing to me a little bit is they have 22 players, the Vikings do, who have registered at least one pass rush snap, meaning at least once they've been going after the quarterback. 18 of them have registered a pressure.
119 total pressures.
That is
119 total pressures from this team. It's crazy.
157.
So that stat updated apparently because I was
They
just
have
looking at it on PFF
150
earlier.
They have 157 total pressures. And
Oh my
also
gosh.
with this too is like the other thing is win percentage is always a tricky stat to look at because if you have a guy who in this instance he has Pat and I had 3 pass rush snaps, he has 1 pressure, so he's winning 33.3% of the time. Gotta kind of balance it out there. Gotta look at these other guys. I mean, you have Danielle Hunter, who has rushed the passer almost 400 times, 363 times to be exact, winning 15.2% of the time.
It's crazy.
You have Marcus Davenport, who's been a situational pass rusher for them, winning almost 10% of the time. They are ridiculously effective at getting up the quarterback. Ivan Pace Jr., he is such an effective blitzer at the linebacker position. One of the things that I absolutely loved about him coming out of Cincinnati, even though I wasn't high on him overall, was just how quick he is to trigger downhill, whether it be against the run or whether it be as a pass rusher. Dude is great. Now, I want to shut this conversation back because we can go all night about, how aggressive they are, what they do, and, real quick, what enables them to is that their corners and defensive back and secondary, they're not an outstanding bunch, but they are good at keeping physical, keeping guys close to them, and just allowing, Brian Flores to be aggressive. They're not allowing instant separation, which makes those hot reads even harder. I want to go back to more of what the Broncos offense can do. Because everything that we look at with this offense, we've seen Russell Wilson struggle. We've seen questionable play calling. We've seen blocking not hold up. All these issues against the blitz. This is a game they have to figure it out. It's a non-conference game, but with the rest of the schedule that the Broncos have, if they really want to be in the playoffs, they cannot afford to lose this one.
No.
They have to be at 5-5 after this game. Because when you look at the rest of the playoff picture, and I'm kind of shifting topic here again a little bit, they kind of control their own fate in making the playoffs in a way. They have a game against the Browns and the Texans, who are currently 6th and 7th in the seeding
Both
process.
winnable games too.
They have a game against the Raiders, who are sitting at 5-5, that are 9th in the seeding, and they have 2 games against the Chargers, who are a little bit above the Broncos, and 12th in the seeding, with the Broncos sitting at 14th. They've already lost multiple games that can benefit them. They helped themselves already by beating the Bills. So this is a game that, just to help with the record a little bit, they've got to win this one.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you lose this one, then it basically makes it the rest of your schedule. You cannot afford to lose.
Yep.
And I already question, as it is, by going through and watching the other AFC teams, I question if a team that is sitting, 12-5, I question where they will fall in the playoff hunt. Like, things are that tough in the AFC wild card race at the moment, looking at other schedules that they have. You can't afford to lose this one, because if you're going to 11-6 or 10-7, basically there is a really bad chance of making it. And already ESPN released their playoff percentages, the ability to get seedings. The Broncos sit with a less than 12% chance as it is to make the playoffs, according to ESPN.
I had seen another one. It was and K-Hop jumping in here. This is the one that I had seen. I think it was NFL.com. 18% chance. It was what NFL.com had deciphered earlier today. I don't disagree with you, Eric, in any way, shape, or form. This is a very winnable game, and I think that while it's going to be difficult sledding for this Broncos offense against this Vikings defense, and I want to go a little bit into the what the Broncos offense can do. We've got about 25 minutes here. Offensively, while the blitz packages and everything like that is scary, and I understand, the easiest way to slow down a pass rush is draws and screens. I think that this is a really good opportunity for the Broncos to dial up those shot plays. And when I say shot plays, I mean shotgun, three-step drop shot plays, essentially mimicking a 7-step drop out of coming from under center. You're going to see a lot of cover zero, and Harrison Smith is dynamic as a safety, and you got to really kind of watch him as the focal point of this defense, especially in the secondary. But utilizing speed, you have two players right now, and one of them in Marvin Mims is not being utilized properly, in my opinion. But Jerry Jeudy, you just saw it against the Buffalo Bills. They bring a 7-man pressure, and you go quick 3-step drop, throw the ball up, and let somebody go make a play. That is the most susceptible thing that this Brian Flores defense has always been the worst against. Shot plays. You have to get the shot plays going this week. And Russell Wilson just so happens to be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL at throwing the deep ball. They're not doing it right now because they're not asking him to go out and win football games. They're asking him to be conservative. Just keep a hold of the football, make the plays you need to, check it down. I think you need to take chances against this Minnesota defense. I really do. And because those big plays, if you can run the football well enough and be consistent with the screen game, set some stuff up, you have to win over the top against this Minnesota defense. And if you do that, that's where you turn our defense over. You turn this Denver Broncos defense over and allow your pass rushers to get after Josh Dobbs and force him into the turnovers that he is very, very susceptible to. Eric, what do you think about that?
I'm going to be very, careful with the wording I choose here. Just after the 3-game win streak, I hear you guys in the comments and everything trying to be a little bit more positive about this team. So I'm going to be very careful with my wording on this. It is a risk still because, and I'll disagree with you with one thing, Brian Flores' team does a great job of limiting explosive plays. They did when he was every step of the way. They have always done a good job of limiting explosive plays. Even this year, they are third in limiting explosive play rates. They just don't allow it. And a big reason for that is how well they disguise plays and bait throws. And that is going to be a problem for this Broncos offense, which is why there is a risk with doing that. They can still try to find those and find those shots, but they got to be timely. They got to pick their down, and there is plenty of data out there that to pick out what downs and everything that you want to go and look at on that, and try to figure that out. But one thing with this team is they do not slow down their blitz whatsoever. They are
Mhm.
first in the number of blitzes on first down. They are second in number of blitzes on second down, and fourth in number of blitzes on third down. This team stays aggressive. So it's going to make it even more difficult for them to find those opportunities to take those shots.
Mhm. And I don't disagree with that. And a big part of the reason why, and I'm glad you went with the disguising of coverages because they do bait you into those throws. And Harrison Smith is having a hell of a season. I think he has 4 interceptions already this season. I know he's among the league leaders in terms of interceptions this year. The dude's just incredible. First off, first and foremost, Harrison Smith is so underrated as a safety, and I know he's I think 31 or 32 years old, but this dude is just incredible. But I think that you can win with speed against this team. I really do. I don't know without going back and watching every single game and breaking down everything about the Minnesota Vikings, and that's my fault. I probably should have done that. Struggles, but I don't know that they've faced a dynamic duo of speed plus a contested catch guy like Cortland Sutton this season. I really don't know that. They're on a 5-game winning streak right now. They're playing with a backup quarterback. If you can get a couple of shots to actually hit, limit the explosiveness of that defense from in terms of creating pressures and sacks, uh, run the football effectively like the Broncos have been doing here, and hit them with a couple of screens. That's the recipe to win. I do believe, at least offensively. Defensively, on the other hand, this is where things get fun because this defense for the Denver Broncos, they've been doing so well in terms of creating turnovers. They've gotten a lot of pressures. They haven't got a lot of sacks, but they continue to get a lot of pressures, especially Jonathan Cooper. I think he had a hell of a game against the Buffalo Bills this last week. But this Minnesota offensive line is incredible, guys. Christian Darrisaw is playing at an all-pro level at left tackle. Brian O'Neill is playing at a Pro Bowl level at right tackle. And damn it, they're the center. I cannot remember his name. Damn it. Anyway, he's playing at a very high level as well. I think that the big part of this offensive line that you can attack, and this is a guy that Eric, you and I have much maligned, but have given a lot of credit to for his ability to turn his season around. This is a game for Zach Allen to really show his true colors here. If he can get after Ed Ingram, the right guard, and start to collapse the pocket from the interior, this is a big game where the Broncos need Zach Allen to be the guy as their premier pass rusher. Absolutely. Eric, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean they have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. They maximize the talent that they have, but you're spot on. Ed Ingram is the weak link on the offensive line. The other four are really good players.
Yeah, no, Dalton Risner. Don't forget Dalton Risner over
Well,
there too.
no, I Dalton Risner is bad. He will always be bad. No, he wasn't actually that good last week either. They definitely have taken a pretty big hit since they moved on from Ezra Cleveland. So Dalton Risner, but the thing with Dalton Risner is that he hasn't been Ed Ingram bad, and he's played less than half the snaps. And I'll give some Dalton Risner some credit. The scheme fits with him. Like with what he does, that scheme is just a perfect match. His pass blocking efficiency is better. He hasn't allowed any sacks. Like he's doing well. In his limited time, he's allowed 12 pressures, which is a concern, but still, you can get a little better. Ed Ingram is the weakest link on there. Brian O'Neill's playing very well. He does have a bit of a habit to get hit for penalties pre and post snap a little bit. Christian Darrisaw has been absolutely outstanding. Garrett Bradbury, the center, has been great this year. So there are a lot of things, ways that they can attack this offensive line and make life difficult for the Pastronaut or whatever his nickname is.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs, the Pastronaut. He's the a very smart guy. Did an internship, I believe, is what it was with NASA. That he's an astronaut essentially. And Eric, I want to kind of elaborate here. But first, let's grab some of these comments here. We've got a bunch of comments coming in. We haven't really said hello to really anybody in the chat. Malcolm Brown jumping in from Homer, Alaska, our good friend out there in Alaska, right around the corner from Eric. Are there any Arizona Cardinal players that Vance Joseph would want? The first one that jumped into my mind specifically was Zaven Collins. That like I would love to see Zaven Collins again in this defense. Pair him up with Drew Sanders, very dynamic linebacker core there. Move on from Josie Jewell, move on from Alex Singleton. I would love to see that. We've got another guy coming in, K-Hop saying, Buda Baker, please. Eric, what do you think in terms of Arizona players that Vance Joseph might want to bring along with him next season?
Let me pull up the roster here.
Yeah, Zaven Collins is the guy that I want the most. Like I love that kid. He's so good.
Too redundant. Way too redundant.
It is a little bit redundant, but I can get behind it anyways.
Not to mention Jonathan Gannon has completely taken him away from playing linebacker.
Yeah, he's a full-time edge now. Yeah, he's a full-time edge now.
And doing terribly, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he's not playing very well. That whole defense is playing badly.
So I don't know about that. Looking through it.
Hey Peter, Peter Middleton, you said you got nice stars from somebody. Give me a name on that so we can pull that up here in just a second, please. Eric, go ahead and continue on that. I'm going to just give a shout out to everybody here in the house tonight. Patrick Wiltsey. Patrick, need some coffee, dog. Help me out, dog. David Youngkin, Peter Middleton doing his thing in Singapore last I knew. We've got K-Hop in the house, Chase Wellner, C. Chang, Doug Tessier, William Catalano. We got a Facebook Benjamin on Facebook. Can't see your last name, so I do apologize for that. But thank you for joining us. Jerron Washington, Mark Hoynack, a lot of familiar faces here tonight. Thank you all for joining us on Dove Valley Deep Divers. We definitely appreciate your guys' support and coming in to enjoy a wonderful Friday evening with us. Eric, go back to your Arizona Cardinals player.
Jalen Thompson. He's been having a pretty good year, safety.
Okay.
He's still young. He's similar to Kareem Jackson in what he does and brings to the defense.
Okay.
I think he's better. He's a little bit thinner. He's not as, he's not as punishing with his tackling, I guess would be a safe way to put it. But I wouldn't mind him. Outside of that, there's really no one. Like Buda Baker, you just get into an issue of finances.
Yeah,
which is why I wanted to avoid that. I mean, the money doesn't work out there with Justin Simmons. If you're going and getting Buda Baker, you're saying goodbye to Justin Simmons. So I'm just, not really anyone that stands out. Victor Dimukeje, maybe, if you wanted to add to the pass rush a little bit. I mean, he's been pretty good for them.
It's a good depth piece, I think. I mean, you're upgrading over Thomas Incoom at least.
I think with him, you can have a pretty solid 4-man rotation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Cooper Browning, Benito, Dimukeje.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm here for that. Let's see here. Defensively, Eric, let's go back to the Minnesota Vikings. Wait. We got Phil McLaughlin jumping in here. Who's on the injury list as of today, and what do you think the percentage of run pass will be? All right, so injury report came out earlier today. The only player that is expected to miss the game for the Denver Broncos is PJ Locke. Obviously suffered that ankle injury early. And I think go ahead.
He's not expected to miss. He will miss. He was ruled out.
Yes. Yep.
He will miss the game.
Yeah, he will miss the game. Other than that, there is no other injury designation. I believe questionable is all the way around, but that means pretty much you're going to play. Ben Powers listed as questionable. Jerry Jeudy questionable. There was another one I cannot remember off the top of my head right now. The Broncos coming into the game relatively healthy. The big one for the Minnesota Vikings offensively is Justin Jefferson, who's dealing with a hamstring injury. NFL insider Benjamin Albright on KOA earlier today said that Justin Jefferson is probably going to be a game time decision. And that's interesting because he's not quite on the active roster. They still have time to do that. But that's the big one here. Alexander Madison, running back from Minnesota, has a concussion. He was a full participant on Friday. Sounds like he's going to play. Anything else, Eric? I don't have it pulled up. I did earlier. Any injury news that you know of? Talking to people you talk about that you can bring to light here to close us out here soon.
Yeah, the thing with Justin Jefferson is he had his 21-day, just to clarify this a little bit, he had his 21-day practice window open, but he's not on the active roster. They will have to make that decision if they're going to activate him tomorrow, which they can, and then he can be a game time decision. As long as he stays on the 21-day window, he can't play. So he's out. And from everything I've gathered, it sounds like he's trending towards not being activated in the first place. They want to get him a couple days of full practice before making the decision. And on top of that is, from what I understood, a Vikings reporter on Twitter, I can't remember his name, was
Arif
talking
Hassan.
about how no, it wasn't him. I know Arif. It was a different one. And he made the comment, or he tweeted out a comment that Justin Jefferson, after he would run a little bit today, he was limping afterwards. And seemed to have taken a slight step back in his recovery from his hamstring injury that he's dealing with. So it looks like that he won't play. I still leaves their offense as a threat. TJ Hawkinson is still a damn good player. And with the Broncos issues that they've had, there is going to be an opening for him. We talked about this last week with Dalton Kincaid. They struggle really guarding the middle of the field because Vance Joseph's defense has always been open in the middle of the field. He has always wanted to push things outwards, be aggressive, push things to the boundary. That's always been his style. So there's an opening there, and the issue is going to be if the pass rush isn't able to get home consistently, which isn't an easy task against this offensive line, and with Dobbs' ability to escape and maneuver and take off, TJ Hawkinson and him and Dobbs have great chemistry. He makes himself open. He makes himself ready almost immediately. He knows how to find the soft spot in zone, and he's good enough at getting separation to be effective in man. He is still a major threat for this defense. It would not surprise me if come after the game, TJ Hawkinson has over 100 yards receiving. It would not surprise me one bit because he is that good, and he is that good at attacking where Denver still has issues with in their pass coverage.
Well, and you're absolutely right on that. And I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to see TJ Hawkinson have a half like he had last week. He had 10 catches for 128 yards and a touchdown. Was that last week or 2 weeks? Regardless, he had 10 catches, 128 yards and a touchdown in a game very recently. That's a big thing. I want to answer the second half of this question really quick from Phil, but I also want to go. There's a comment that I want to grab specifically talking about Justin Jefferson and if he plays or does not. Back to Phil. What do you think the percentage of run versus pass will be for the Denver Broncos offense? I think it needs to stay very similar to what it has been. 55 to 45, the Broncos running the football a lot. They need to stick with running the football. And they're going to be pounding their head against a brick wall doing it. But I do think that there are opportunities here, especially when Ben Powers is going to play from the sound of it. It sounds like he is confirmed he's going to play. Quinn Miners up front. Lloyd Cushenberry has been doing a great job. He's got a tough task against Harrison Phillips this week. But there are opportunities here for this Broncos offensive line to open up some holes running. And Javonte Williams does such a great job breaking tackles between the tackles. And you can continue to work against this Minnesota defense, they're okay against the run. They're not great by any stretch of that. They're okay. If you can run the football effectively, limit the chances of this team getting after the quarterback and pressuring Russell Wilson and forcing into the mistakes, they need to do that specifically. I think 60-40 is the way they should go. 55-45 is more than likely what it will be. Eric, your thoughts?
I think they're a lot better against the run than just okay.
Okay.
They're top 8. They're top 8 in both success rate and defending the run and EPA defending the run.
Okay, so I was looking at the wrong numbers then because I did not see that.
They are quite good at it. Specifically, their EPA against the rush is negative 0.14, and the lower the number, the better. Or they rank 8th, and their success rate against the run, they rank 7th.
Okay.
So they are quite good against the run. Doesn't mean that they don't
Right.
have openings. We talked about this at the beginning of the show. Even great run defenses still have those openings. And what the Broncos need to do is they need to still stick with the run, but they need to use those plays that can bait them with their aggressiveness a little bit and take advantage of that. A few more draws, maybe a few more, outside toss plays. But it's going to be a lot on Russell Wilson to sit there and read it. And he can't be afraid to adjust the play a little bit. If they're looking like a heavy blitz off the left side, then he needs to be willing to call it and audible it and, run off to the right or whatever. Find the opening, find the crease, and hope that your offensive line can go and do their job and create the opening, as they have done pretty well for the last few years. So this defense, they do a lot of things are extremely well. They are a team that has even when they weren't doing like before their winning streak, they were a better team than what people thought of them to be. They went toe to toe with the Philadelphia Eagles. That was one of their losses that they had. They are a good team. I still have Denver winning it, just to be clear here. I do expect Denver to win. I do think they find ways to capitalize on the aggressiveness of it a little bit. Not having Jefferson in there as is the expectation at this point helps them a little bit. TJ Hawkinson's still worrisome, but the rest of the receivers are unknowns or iffy. Addison, he could be great. There's just a lot of consistency issues that he has. And the thing is with K-Hop saying if Jefferson doesn't play, it'll be a bit easier for Surtain to guard Addison. Surtain doesn't mirror receivers. He never has this season. He's never had more than I think like 40% of his snaps come against a single receiver. And anything above 40 is what they consider to be mirroring. He predominantly sticks to the quarterback's right and stays there. There are a few times, depending on the look and the formation, that he will cross formation and go cover a guy. But he doesn't mirror people.
And even then, he's not necessarily crossing over the formation. They usually slide safeties over or slide Jaquan McMillan and have Pat Surtain stay on the backside. It's not often. I'm not saying like it's like that's something they do is like flip Surtain over to guard a guy. They'll do that. They typically leave Surtain on the right side, though.
Typically, yes. Correct. And when I say cross formation, there are a few times where he will go over to the quarterback's left, but it's just not common. Peter Middleton asks if Power doesn't play, who would take his place? Ben Powers is expected to play. He came out and he said he would play. He's not even listed as questionable. He is marked good to go for this game.
Yep.
So it is. He's expected. He is expected to play. Before we get out of here, Lance, though, we both expect the Broncos to pick up their 4th straight win, keep them alive in the playoff hunt. Do you think that this? Do you think the Broncos will be a playoff team?
I think that there's a less than 0% chance that they're going to be a playoff team. And
do you think the Broncos are a playoff team? Yes or
no?
I'm going to hold you to
it. No, I don't. And the reason why I say that is because, and as much praise as I have for this team right now, and I said it against the in the post game coverage against the Green Bay Packers, this team's learning how to win. They don't know how to win yet. And there's going to be a couple of games down the stretch that are going to be winnable football games where they're going to have some stumbles and struggles. This one against the Minnesota Vikings is one that I can definitely see them losing. I'm picking them to win. I think they're going to win. And I think they're going to win handily, quite honestly. I think they're going to get after Josh Dobbs. They're going to force another 2 or 3 turnovers against this Minnesota Vikings defense. They're going to stop the 5-game winning streak, and they're going to go to 5-5. But the next week, you've got the Cleveland Browns and the top defense in the NFL, in my opinion. That defense is so incredibly crazy. You're probably going to drop a game to the Chargers. There's a good chance you drop a game to the Detroit Lions as well. And that offense that's playing just ridiculously efficiently here lately. As much as I want to say I think that this team is going to be a playoff team, I can't say that for 100% right now. Give me this win against the Minnesota Vikings. I think that they are a playoff team. This is the game right here. I know that I said the Buffalo Bills team. I will talk about them being potentially a playoff team. If they win against the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday Night Football, they are a playoff team. I think that that's the one win that they need to have to finalize that winning culture and really start to make this run the right way. Do they do damage in the playoffs? That's another question. And I know that's a long way of going about saying, no, I don't think they're a playoff team. Show me a little bit more. This game here, and I think they're going to win. And if they do win this game, they're a playoff team. I do think that. I just want to see it first.
Zach Powers asking, why isn't Fleming R6 O-line instead of Bailey? Wouldn't Fleming be our better shot? Or is it an injury risk thing? A lot of teams typically don't have their backup swing tackle as their sixth OL. They typically have one of the more versatile guys, whether it be, like the seventh or eighth man. It's not their swing tackle. So that's part of it. Is Bailey has the versatility to play inside or out. Fleming is the backup swing tackle. If one of the tackles goes down, Fleming's the first one out there. Bailey is just to help protect that a little bit, so it doesn't deal with a little bit of injury thing. Just helps do that to predict it.
So, yeah, and to expand a little bit, and I was looking at something, so if I missed this point particularly, Fleming's a swing tackle, like he's going to play on the outside. Bailey's the swing guard, swing interior guy. More, it's just a comfortability thing. So if you said that, I do apologize. I think the more interesting question here is if Bailey, if Powers does end up missing time, how does this offensive line shake out? Like, is it just Bailey coming into left guard, or are we going to talking switching guards here? Is Miners going to play the left side, Bailey play the right side? I think that is something. And Eric, I know you got some thoughts on this. I want you to elaborate just a little bit.
So a big thing with offensive linemen is you got to be being comfortable on which side you're playing in. While Quinn Bailey can play both sides, from what I've gathered, he's a bit more comfortable playing on the right side. So if Ben Powers, something happens and he is expected to miss a little bit of time, what I think they would do is move Quinn Miners over, because they don't expect him to have a drop off and play either side. He's been cross training since before he got here. He's played both sides of the line. He's played at a high level on both sides of the line, and then inserting Quinn Bailey a little bit where he's more comfortable. And another reason for that, I think, is because of trying to figure out how to put this without coming off as butthead. Putting the more reliable guy next to Garrett Bowles, I think is better, because then you're not getting Garrett Bowles trying to do too much. And the big reason why that's important and protecting that side is Russell Wilson has struggled more escaping pressure from the left side than he has from the right side.
Yes.
Which also constitutes of why you don't want Bowles trying to do too much, why you want your more solid guy keeping more solid guard on the left side, all that. Now, real quick, just deep thought process here. Part of that leads me to question why they have Ben Powers playing the left side and not Quinn Miners to start. My assumption is Ben Powers isn't comfortable playing the right side, so they're just going into that comfortability with Ben Powers.
Yeah, and I think that you pretty much summed it up correctly on that one. My thing is that if Powers does miss time, moving Miners to the left side when he has been so dominant on the right side next to Mike McGlinchey in the running game. Now, that's not to take away from what could be an absolutely kick-ass and destructive left side of the offensive line, because Garrett Bowles would be out there. Let me thump my chest again. Garrett Bowles, guys, the dude's the truth. He's playing pretty damn good football right now. And Garrett Bowles and Quinn Miners in the running game, getting that motion, that aggressiveness, that attitude out there up front would be incredibly fun to watch. Eric, I think we are pretty much done. I got K-Hop jumping in here saying that, yes, the Lance negativity is back. Last time this happened, the Broncos beat the Chiefs. Hey, I hope we don't ever come off as overly negative, guys. And that's something that Eric and I have prided ourselves upon, is becoming more objective with our criticism, and not trying to be overly negative. We're going to do better about that moving forward. It's going to be a change to our show. I want everybody to know this. We've been talking about it kind of behind the scenes. Being more objective, more positivity, bringing in the things that this team is doing well. And it makes it a hell of a lot easier when they're winning football games and they're playing a hell of a lot better up front. So hopefully we can get a little bit more positivity injected into the show, get a little bit more of our objective criticism takes to make people understand that we're not just being negative assholes. All the time. You guys are the lifeblood of the show, and we want you guys to be here and to understand that we're just trying to be as open and honest about our opinions about this team as we possibly can. So thank you all for being here. It's been a great show tonight. Hopefully we've reined that in as much as humanly possible and showed that we guys, that we as the Dove Valley Deep Divers can be positive and can be a great show for you guys moving forward. With that, though, gotta say thank you all to everybody for joining us tonight. You guys can follow us on Twitter by finding me at Lance_S_MHH, and for Eric at Erick Trickel. Also, guys, while you're at it on Twitter, make sure you guys are following at Mile High Huddle. That's some other account where you guys get breaking news and analysis regarding your Denver Broncos, opinion articles, film breakdowns, anything breaking news. You're going to find it at Mile High Huddle and at milehighhuddle.com. Guys, head on over to mhhmerch.com, get yourself a hat, a t-shirt, a coffee cup, face mask, onesie for your baby. There's even scarves for your dog if that's so suits your fancy. Great way to support the show and the website. We really appreciate it. And if you guys are not financially able to do so, the three things that everybody should be doing across all platforms is subscribe. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Please subscribe to Mile High Huddle. Like every video you guys see. And if you love it, please share it. Please, please, please get it in front of as many Broncos fans as possible, because without your guys' support and this community, we could not do what we do, which is cover our Denver Broncos. Now, Eric, is there any burning comments you want to come back out and maybe address before we get out of here?
Yeah, I just realized how weird my eyebrows look.
What?
While you're talking, I look at myself. I was like, one is like straight, and the other one is kind of arched. That's, anyways, guys.
That's just your face. That's just your face, dude.
I'm one word looking, dude. Like, anyways, thank you guys for joining us as always. As Lance said, we appreciate you guys joining in every single week. Have a wonderful holiday. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time with your family. Be smart with the conversation. You don't want to, family fights on Thanksgiving. There's a whole subreddit about it, and I always like to read them every year. Hopefully, you guys, do well at avoiding, those touchy subjects that create havocs in families and all that. Enjoy the food, eat a lot, and hopefully this time next week we're talking about, the Broncos trying to get their 5th win in a row.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, man. And like I said, I think the Broncos are going to win. Eric thinks the Broncos are going to win. The entire staff predictions are up. milehighhuddle.com. The roundtable is live. Been live since about noon earlier today. Make sure you guys go and check all of that out. With that, though, guys, we have to say goodnight to each and every one of you on a wonderful Friday evening. For Erick Trickel, I am Lance Sanderson. You all stay safe and take care. Have a great rest of your weekend. And as always, go Broncos. Let's go, guys.